All right, well, I think we see a lot of people joining in. I'll kick things off because we do have a few housekeeping items. So hi and welcome to our Crushworthy Career Sites That Convert webinar. My name is Joanna Keel. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Phenom. Before we dive into our content, I want to go over just a few housekeeping items. First, please note that all attendees, you have been muted. And yes, this webinar will be recorded and available for you to watch on demand. The slides can also be downloaded. They can also be found in your platform. If you look at the Docs tab, you can download it now, should you like. We highly encourage your engagement throughout this webinar, and we do want you to share your thoughts and any questions you may have. And we do have 2 polls that we'd love for you to weigh in on. We've set aside time for Q&A at the end, but if you do have questions that come top of mind, just drop them into the chat or the Q&A function. But just remember, we'll cover those at the end. So without further ado, I'll kick off sharing my screen here. At Phenom, our purpose is to help 1 billion people find the right job. And we're on a mission to accomplish just that. Getting to our special guests, I have the pleasure of introducing 2 phenomenal women from Lumen. Annie Roberts, Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition Operations and Marketing, and Emily Pocus, Lead Recruitment Marketing Analyst. You know, one of our favorite things to do around here at Phenom is to share a not normal. So Annie and Emily, would you mind sharing one with the audience?
Sure, yeah. So my not normal is that my first car was a bright red Volkswagen Beetle, which I drove for way too long. So every time I see one on the road, which is very rare these days, I just get a wave of nostalgia.
Wow, that's awesome. Emily, what about you?
Yeah, so this one is a little tough for me, but I will say, so I have a farm, bought a farm here a year ago now, and I am that crazy animal lady. I have 2 horses, 4 cats, 24 chickens, 2 dogs, 3 dogs now if you count our foster, and they just keep coming. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, maybe we could fit all your animals in Annie's car.
I don't know. I don't even think you could get 1 horse in there.
Really get 2 people in there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing and kicking that off. I think it's a fun way to kind of set the stage of what we're going to talk about today. I do want to say what we'll be covering on today's website, what you can expect. We'll be covering career site trends and sharing tips on how to showcase your brand authentically. And we're also going to be covering how your career site can actually convert. So now let's set the stage here for the audience. Annie, would you mind sharing a little background about Lumen and their challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you not familiar with Lumen as a company, we're a global company with over about 28,000 employees. We have a rich history that's a combination of quite a few companies over time. So some of the most recent, including CenturyLink, Level 3, Quest. We're a global communication services provider. So we're focused on networking, edge cloud, collaboration and security solutions. And all of that is designed to elevate businesses and deliver really user-friendly, intuitive technology environments. So now that you've kind of heard what Lumen does as a company, I'll take you on a little journey with us. So it's a journey that we've been on here at Lumen within our talent acquisition team for the past 4 years. To set the stage, about 4 years ago, we had just completed an acquisition of a company and then shortly after rebranded our company. So that included changing the company name. We had a brand new employer brand that no one knew. Our career site at the time was static. It was difficult and expensive to update. It lacked modern functionality, and we didn't have the ability to personalize a job seeker's experience on the site to the information that was most relevant to them. We had disconnected systems that we had inherited over time from previous companies. Nothing was integrated together. We had a candidate relationship management tool that we had inherited. It wasn't adopted. It wasn't widely used by our recruiters because of that lack of effective integrations. We had an events platform. We had various sourcing tools, but again, they weren't integrated with other systems. We also didn't have easy access and visibility into data, which meant that we really struggled to show the pre-funnel impact of our recruitment marketing strategy and our recruiting team sourcing efforts. And unfortunately, our internal career site also wasn't easy for our internal employees to navigate. It was hard to submit employee referrals. It was hard for them to identify next opportunities for growth for themselves within the company and where they could fit kind of within this large organization. So our company as a whole was really focused on innovation and transformation. And we were stuck in the 1980s when it came to our talent acquisition tech stack and our employee experience tools. We weren't using AI on our career site in the CRM or really in any of our tools that our recruiting team was using. And there were kind of infrequent ATS releases that happened, but those weren't really enough for us. So we went searching for a partner who was agile, could keep up with the speed of our transformation and innovation, was aligned with our focus on candidate experience, and who could help us achieve the simplicity and the modernization that we needed to drive within our tools. So that's when we found Phenom.
Awesome. Thanks, Annie, for being so transparent about the challenges your team faced. I wanted to build off just a few things that she had shared about some challenges that Phenom is seeing, actually, as some trends. It turns out that even though many organizations are leveraging AI to create unique experiences for job seekers, findings from the State of Candidate Experience report reveals that majority, about 89% of companies, are failing to leverage AI technologies to amp up their candidate experiences. So lots of people are stuck in the 80s, it seems like, Annie. I think that was a really good point that you'd said. And let's not forget that there's still more jobs than there is candidates, and candidates are more selective now than ever before. This means that certain elements of that candidate experience emerge as critical must-haves for winning top talent. Some of these critical must-have technologies include serving up job recommendations based on the candidate's profile, their browsing history, and recently viewed jobs. It also involves using conversational chatbots. These are just a few ways companies can leverage AI to find and hire quality candidates faster. So we want to take a second and let's hear from the audience. We'd like to execute a poll here. Go ahead and stop sharing. If you can go to your poll feature on your screen, if you'd like to weigh in, we'd like you to cast your vote. What's your biggest challenge? Is it personalization? Is it leveraging AI technology? Is it sourcing the right talent? Is it creating consistent branding experience? Okay, we're seeing lots of votes being casted here. I'm going to give everybody a minute just to get familiar with the platform. All right, we have a clear winner so far is sourcing the right talent. So lots of people weighing in here. Okay, very good. Thanks for engaging in this. So looking at what's happening dynamic on the screen, we are seeing the sourcing the right talent still remain one of the biggest challenges. And we're still seeing quite a few votes across the board. So that's, I'm not surprised by those. We hear these challenges all the time in the market. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share what challenges that you're seeing. So let's kick it back over to Annie, who's going to talk about why they chose Phenom and what they selected. So let me go ahead and pull that up for you, Annie.
Perfect. So like many of you, when we initially were looking at Phenom, when we began that partnership, we had trouble sourcing talent as well as AI, kind of all those things you saw listed were all kind of some of the reasons why we moved towards Phenom. So we initially launched with the external career site, which came with an easy to use and flexible career site management system, a CMS, and an externally facing candidate chatbot, which Joanna talked a little bit about, kind of the AI pieces in the chatbot. We were very interested in that. We also launched a new CRM tool for our recruiters to use that integrated with our applicant tracking system. So on the challenge of sourcing the right talent, the CRM really allowed our teams to manage those candidates throughout the entire hiring process, make hiring status changes that flowed back and forth between the ATS and the CRM, and it keeps those systems in alignment. It also has allowed our teams to build and send campaigns to both leads before they apply and candidates after they apply, either through email or text message. So being able to campaign out to job seekers in the way that many job seekers prefer today, which is SMS or text message, has been really beneficial to increasing our campaigns' open, click, and apply rates. And then the final piece that we implemented was the talent analytics platform so that we could more easily dive into that pre-funnel candidate activity and really see what was happening. So we immediately saw benefits from these tools, including having a career site that allowed the right talent to find and choose us faster with that hyper-personalized experience. We were able to source the right candidates better through technology for our recruiters that really supercharged their productivity. And then we had the analytics to be able to tell that story around our talent strategy and show the results of it. So as I mentioned earlier, we were a brand new employer brand with a new name. We had new images, we had a new tone, and it was continually being refined. So having a flexible and easy to update career site enabled our recruitment marketing team to move at the speed of the business and stay aligned with the ever evolving branding elements that were happening at the time. So once we had these tools up and running, we were seeing high adoption rates. We then implemented our employee experience, which included an internal career site talent marketplace and employee referrals. So with our internal career site hosted by Phenom, it now, similar to external candidates, it now serves up jobs to our employees that best meet their experience and career aspirations. So being able to provide our employees with a people first focused experience was a game changer. Not only can they easily see all the open opportunities for their next step in their journey, but they can also be alerted when jobs are posted. They can share the opportunities externally, and they can submit employee referrals, and it's all in one place for them. And then over the past couple of years, we've also added in additional AI elements, including AI scheduling tool, which simplifies a previously manual process. We have the Video Hub tool, which enables us to solicit, edit, and really lean into video in our marketing and advertising. And we're in the process of building towards a pilot of the hiring manager experience tool with our team. So what this would enable is a new path for our hiring managers to move in a more self-service motion when and where it makes sense, and free up time for our recruiters to focus on the roles that require a more focused approach on a talent attraction strategy. So on the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about the results and what we're seeing from kind of this new tech stack. So from a candidate lens, we're now able to provide a candidate experience to both our internal and external candidates that's reflective of the dynamic, technology-driven, customer-obsessed organization that we are. So the career site management system is designed for agility, which is good because we're constantly making changes. So it allows us to quickly create and update campaign-specific landing pages with fresh content. And Emily will dive into our strategy in detail a little bit later. But we've seen some huge benefits in this space, and we're really excited about them. So the proof of that experience is seen in not only the ability of the career site to seamlessly handle the increase in career site traffic that we saw in 2023, so it was up 50% from 2022, but also handle the increase in the number of applicants that we've seen. So from 2022 to 2023, we had over a 140% increase in applicants. So that means that 1 out of every 5 career site visitors is applying to a job, which from, again, year over year was an increase in conversion rate of just over 50%. And then as you can see here, we've also seen an increase in page views and an increase in time per page on the career site, meaning that job seekers are finding our content valuable and are spending more time with us. And then beyond the career site metrics, we've also had some fantastic results in our candidate net promoter score, which we measure that through a candidate experience survey. We've seen a 25% increase in the net promoter score from job seekers, with about 78% saying they had a positive career site experience. And as you all know, job seekers typically don't think highly of job application processes. So these results are validating that our career experience and our candidate experience now aligns with our mission to be a customer-obsessed company. And then for the recruiting team, it's all about efficiency. It's all about being able to provide a more targeted approach to talent sourcing. So for us, that meant centralization of data, freeing up precious recruiter time, and really optimizing our spending in the recruitment marketing space to focus on the right candidates. And so with Phenom as part of our tech stack, we were able to marry all of that leading candidate data, both internal and external, into a single source for our teams to draw from. There's AI that's constantly running within the CRM that's matching these candidates to the job openings. And this has really enabled our recruiters to more efficiently market to and find the right people for their jobs. They're not just waiting for somebody to apply. They're truly out there sourcing and finding the right candidates. And then we're also able to capture and see job seekers who land on our career site in a way that we couldn't before. So the AI from the career site pulls in passive leads. We have a candidate chatbot that job seekers can quickly and easily engage with. And we have visibility into partial applicants to assist us in reaching kind of that high quality talent that we couldn't see before. So that, coupled with the automations that are available through the Phenom CRM, now we're able to automatically campaign out to some of these audiences. So partial applicants, as an example, similar to when you're shopping online. Let's say you put something in your cart, but you don't check out. And then later you get an email that says, hey, you forgot something, come back and check out. we have this set up in our system now so that if someone partially applies to a job and then drops off for whatever reason, they'll receive an automatic reminder to come back and finish their application. So with all these levers in place, we've seen a 30% increase in the talent pool with warm leads, which is people who are engaged with our brand already. And these candidates are easily available in the CRM for our recruiters to reach out to directly. So since we've coupled the increase in warm leads with automations and efficiencies, we've also, again, enabled our recruiters to shift away from administrative tasks and focus on the value add work. And then being able to see the job seekers above the funnel is crucial to help us evaluate our career site pages for views, clicks, time on page, etc. We use this data to continually refine and improve our career site to constantly drive the high conversion rates. We also keep an eye on how long it takes a candidate to complete an application and are continually refining the application process to make sure that we're capturing the data necessary at each step in an easy and efficient manner. And then the final success metric I'd like to talk about is enabling employees to see all jobs open across the company and serve up those jobs to employees based on skill set matches. So our company talent philosophy has a strong focus on the fact that people are the key to our collective success and talent matters. So we're a large organization. Often our employees weren't sure how their skills could be applied to another division or area within the company. So matching jobs with employee skills and interest has really allowed our employees to see opportunities available across the company where they can build their skill set and continue to grow internally. So having this employee-focused experience in place on our site has enabled us to fill 35% of open roles with internal employees in 2023. So those are just a couple of the great results that we've seen.
Wow, Annie, thank you for sharing that. You got quite a few questions into chat just on some of these stats that you shared. So remember, if you do have questions, please drop them in there. We will cover them in the end. So I have seen some come in. I just wanted to make sure the audience knew that. I want to build off a few things that Annie had said that Lumen's doing and just share some trends that we're seeing as well. We know that job seekers want to know what they get themselves into before they apply for a job. And we know that just one look at a job description on a career site isn't going to be enough. But what we're seeing in the data is that companies are really starting to recognize that, and they're doing something about it. Some of the trends that we're seeing for the companies that are leveraging AI and delighting candidates with job recommendations based on their browsing history, using a conversational chatbot to serve up the right job and to answer questions. And of course, they're making their career site really easy to navigate. Innovators are using a combination of the three, just like Annie described what Lumen's doing. And they're building really strong connections with candidates. They're also helping those candidates navigate to the most relevant information quickly and easily because they know the sooner they can connect these job seekers to the information they're looking for, the faster they apply, and the faster they feel more connected to the company as well. There's also a renewed focus on employer brand content that gives site visitors an authentic look at the company culture and values, such as employee testimonials. Now I'd like to shift ahead a little bit and talk about the future. So Annie, would you want to share what's next for Lumen?
Sure, yeah. So I'll share from a broad kind of Phenom tech stack perspective, and then Emily will dive into the career site specific pieces. So a large focus for our entire organization in 2024 is around automation and radical simplification of everything that we do. So from a TA lens, we're continuing to explore how we can build and infuse this into our processes and tools. Within the Phenom CRM, we already have a couple automations already in place, but we're continuing to look at how we can further automate our processes to provide that top-notch candidate experience and really simplify the process for our recruiters. We're a couple weeks out from launching a pilot of our brand new hiring manager portal, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, that will enable hiring managers to move through the hiring process in a self-service motion without recruiter support. And this is mainly for positions that don't require a talent attraction strategy. And then when it comes to the career site, throughout the back half of 2023, our recruitment marketing team audited and revamped our external career site, including the pages, the content, the images, really using candidate feedback and data around page views, clicks, and time on page to prioritize what we were focused on. So we're currently wrapping up that project, still working on a couple items like the navigation we're still updating. And then at the end of January this year, so just a couple weeks ago, Lumen as a company launched our new refreshed brand identity that was built on neuroscience. So with this new brand identity comes new colors, images, a different tone of how we talk about what we do. So our recruitment marketing team is now in the process of using the Phenom career site management system to make updates to our career site to ensure that our colors, our images, our content are all in alignment with the refreshed brand direction. So the career site management tool really allows us to make these updates work easily and seamlessly through multiple iterations of possibilities. And then Emily will share a sneak peek of the work that they've done so far. And personally, I'm loving our bold and vibrant new direction. So Emily, I'll pass it off to you now to talk in more detail about our career site strategy and our focus.
Awesome, thank you. I will preface everybody, I have been battling the flu here, so if I have to sip a little bit of tea or take a moment to cough, I apologize ahead of time. But when it comes to our Lumen career site, we have a multi-pronged strategy that really includes 4 different buckets, I would say. The biggest is around building our credibility with consistent language. So utilizing our North Star and our talent philosophy from all the way from our campaign, so the initial connection with that candidate, to our career site. And that really is saying that at every touch point, the candidates are seeing the same verbiage. Terms like teamwork, trust, transparency, courage, value, and our people are consistently used to showcase how we value our teams and how we're working together. In addition, within our career site, on our job search results pages, we really liked our focus or strategy was to create a one-stop shop. So what that means is information about the role, more nitty-gritty details that they're not going to find in the job description. Or as we know, job descriptions can be more legal terms and things that need to be shared, but aren't necessarily a great representation of what the role does on a day-to-day basis. So adding context around what the roles are, different aspects of the role, challenges of the role, things like that, as well as benefits and highlighting our culture, all within that job search results page. What that does is that keeps them on that jobs page. It brings everything to the forefront in a more condensed fashion than if they were to, say, navigate to our Life at Lumen page or our benefits page. But it gives them enough information to be comfortable in taking that next step and hitting that apply button versus necessarily bouncing off of the site or routing to other pages and maybe not coming back to your job search results page. So again, highlighting that in and out, the ins and outs of the role, promoting day in the life videos, highlighting those high-level benefits. I can share an example of that as our premise technician or a telecommunications role. It's not a very glamorous role. It requires flexibility and varying shifts, which sometimes includes overtime, weekends, holiday hours, sometimes working out of town. And it has a lot of physical requirements with it as well, including working at high elevations or working within confined spaces. And at first, we were getting a lot of influx of candidates, but we found out that they weren't actually necessarily viable candidates because they couldn't either perform the physical requirements of the job, or they weren't comfortable with the varying shifts, or all of that. So in true transparency, one of our core value words that you're going to see throughout our entire campaign strategy was to actually share that information and add that to the site. So we cut that down and shared what the day in a life looks like. We shared the requirements of the role from a physical aspect, and then also did highlight that it is a varying shift and it isn't your typical 9 to 5, and you might need to work late or work the weekends, work out of town, things like that. And what we actually saw was it cut down on the number of applicants that were unable to perform those basic job functions or were uninterested in those varying shifts and locations. So being transparent, even with the things that might be detractors, can actually help kind of weed out those candidates that don't fit that role or wouldn't be happy in that role. And then can we navigate to the next slide where I check for navigation, please? Perfect. And then the third aspect of this is navigation. So when I'm looking at this, again, this is a work in progress. We're working on updating this as we speak. But our goal is to keep the candidates on the career site. So keeping them engaged on that career site has a higher chance of them converting. We're not routing them off of the site to look at more information or taking them away from a job listing or a search results page where they can actually physically apply. An example of that and what we actually have on the site right now is our About Us page, and this is changing. So let me preface that. We see a high bounce rate off of our career site based on our About Us. So at the top of our career site in our navigation, if you click on About Us, it actually routes them to our corporate career site. That's something that we are going to adjust here with the navigation change in that it's not linked there in the header. So they actually have to click the drop down and then choose About Us if they want to learn more. But having it as a clickable in that header, we weren't getting them to come back from that. So just kind of making it an extra step if they want to learn that information versus taking them off of the site altogether. And then adding, so one thing we are going to be adding as well as part of this navigation is additional search results pages. So I know a lot of career sites are set up where your job search results pages are your category pages, right? So what you have in your ATS for job categories translates into your job category job search results pages. And what we found on our side is there's a lot of roles nested under these job categories. So for example, our corporate roles, there could be anything in there from operations, HR, marketing, finance. And so when candidates are looking for those roles, they're actually having to make that connection when they're on our career site and say, okay, that's a corporate role. Now I'm in corporate roles. I'm not really familiar with these titles. Now I have to search through these titles and these skill sets to see what really match my background. And so working to create more job category pages where we're outlining those roles that our candidates are searching for. So HR, marketing, finance, operations, engineering, all of that, and then outlining them or having them as drop downs out of our navigation. So they're not having to search. And then if we could pop forward into branding. So Annie did allude the branding a little bit here, but we are moving into a more vibrant color pattern. From a strategy perspective, at Lumen, we typically are looking for consistency in colors, utilizing a similar color palette to our corporate brand. So I do know there are organizations that have different color palettes for their corporate brand versus employment brand, or they're complementary. But that can sometimes cause confusion for candidates as they're first interacting with your organization as a consumer. So they're out there as a consumer, they see those corporate consumer brand colors, then they see a job opening and that color is different. That the way the mind works is this the same company? It starts to create that doubt versus building that credibility and that consistency and saying, oh, it's Lumen blue or it's Lumen orange. I can now see that with that tie, that tick and tie, which is more subconscious than anything, but definitely keeping to the same consistency and brand. So maintaining that consistency or those complementary color palettes from the time of campaign all the way through the career site really builds that credibility, again, builds that recognition, and it's impacting the candidate's likelihood to recognize the organization and feel comfortable in applying.
Thanks, Emily, for sharing all that with us on the career side. I know that is a ton of work that your team has worked on. Emily's actually going to give us a personalized demo of that, but I'm going to let her get her screen ready. So in the meantime, we want to launch another poll. We'd love to hear from you. What is your main focus for 2024? So if you want to go to your polls tab, here we go. If we could have everybody weigh in. Is it candidate experience, save time leveraging AI technologies, becoming more active on social media, creating more content that showcases your company culture and employer brand? We'll give everybody a minute to cast their votes. Ooh, this is interesting. We're seeing converting more candidates and creating more content really be our top vote getters so far. Awesome. We see some things shifting around. Well, there is no shortage of work, that is for sure. Neck and neck with the converting more candidates or creating more content. Emily and Annie, you might have swayed the group here. Those are two things I know that you're working on. Ooh, gosh, I just want to keep waiting to see what is actually going to win here. All right, converting more candidates looks like it's going to be our lead vote getter. Thank you so much for weighing in and sharing your insights. I know we have a very diverse set of priorities ahead for each one of us this year. So Emily, I'm going to go ahead, if you're ready, if you'd like to go ahead and share your screen so we can get that personalized tour of Lumen. And again, while she's pulling that up, I am seeing lots of questions coming in, so that's awesome. We'll cover those at the end. And just a reminder, if we don't, for some reason, don't worry, we have your email address. We're happy to follow up with you. Take it away, Emily.
Awesome. So I wanted to quickly just kind of walk you through our career site, maybe some of the things that we're thinking about as we're laying out content here, things that you might want to think about too. But as you hit our home page here, you'll see we have some, we're using color really just to draw attention, right? So we leverage kind of more of that white background or softer grays with the color being, here's where we want you to draw your eye. So you'll see in our summary, again, utilizing our talent matters, utilizing those terms that I had alluded to before around teamwork, trust, transparency, and empowering our employees. So you'll see a lot in the past where our job recommendations were actually up at the top of the page. What we were finding is we weren't actually making that brand connection with our candidates when they hit the page. We were just kind of shoving them right into jobs. And that's important, right? We want them to apply, but we also want them to understand who we are and make sure that we're the right fit for them. So we did move those down further on the page and instead wanted to focus on more about what it's like to work at Lumen at the forefront. So again, direct links to our Life at Lumen pages, diversity and inclusion, veteran careers, and benefits. We do have a category job widget here, which if they click on these learn mores, it does take them to those jobs those job search results pages. But including testimonials. So we are definitely leveraging, as we've gone through a career site refresh a few times now at this point, is leveraging the user-generated content. So looking at employee testimonials, videos utilizing Phenom's video capture tool to get more authentic feedback on what it means to be a Lumen employee. We know that resonates with the market right now. People want to understand from the people that work for an organization what it means to work there. And that's the best way to connect is through that user-generated content. So again, including employee testimonials on our homepage and then awards as well. And always having that talent community, join our talent community link on the majority of our pages as well. So if they're not finding something that they're interested in, or maybe they just want to stay informed, they can join our talent community. So I'll kind of navigate just through our Life at Lumen page and give you guys an idea of what kind of things we're thinking about. You'll see, again, a summary bar at the top, pulling in those key terms, key values of working at Lumen. But then we're utilizing a video here to really give a sense of who our CEO is, and not only from a corporate perspective, but gives her that human aspect as well, that she's out and she's exploring, and that she has that flexibility and that ability to not only lead the organization, but still be a Lumen human outside of the organization. We do highlight, again, our flexibility with the direct link to work from home opportunities, another link to benefits. So you'll kind of see throughout our site, we have our benefits page. We have our diversity and inclusion page, or Life at Lumen page. What you'll see is little snips from each of those pages as content that matters. So it's one thing just to have it up there as a page that a candidate can navigate to, but to kind of share it in little pieces as they're going through the site. And then they are navigating more pages and they're seeing that consistent messaging around benefits. They're seeing that consistent messaging around flexibility and work from home. All of those things. It's really kind of, again, building that trust, building that credibility that we really are who we say we are when we're out there campaigning. It's consistent throughout our site. We have an employee resource group. So in the past, this really looked like just logos of our employee resource groups with a little blurb about what they did. We actually worked with our diversity and inclusion team to create a video around our employee resource groups with the leaders of each group really explaining what they see, what they feel being a part of that group, what really drove them to join that group, and what that means at Lumen to be part of these different groups within the organization. So Voice of Many Feathers, our Vets ERG, we are So Most Pride, all of that. We have a representation from each of those groups, really giving a candid feedback on the organization and how the employee resource groups play a huge role in the culture at Lumen. And then again, awards and testimonials. So again, I won't go through every page on the career site, but I just wanted to kind of showcase how we're kind of putting little breadcrumbs of benefits on each page, little breadcrumbs of our employee resource groups diversity to really kind of bring that message full circle. And then just as a little plug of what our career site may look like here in the future, I'll give you an example, really leaning into those bold, more orange and teals and seafoam greens. But you'll see again, leveraging that white background with the very light gray to kind of break up text heavy areas. But you'll see similar content, just a little bit different look and feel, using that orange to really draw attention to something, and then having our text heavy areas be in that lighter gray as well. And that's all I have for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. And thanks for the sneak peek. I love that seafoam green, I think that you described it as. And I also loved that you shared Lumen Human. I thought that was very clever. That's a very great way to tie in your brand. We have received so many questions. And just to make sure, if anybody has questions, please, again, drop them into chat or into the Q&A portion. We're going to cover as many as we can now. We have the webinar for another 20 minutes or so. So again, if we don't get to your question, do not worry. We have your email. We're happy to follow up. So I did want to call it a few, and Annie, thanks for answering so many of those in chat, but in case people aren't checking out the responses, I thought maybe we could do them verbally as well. So one of the questions actually came in from Pedro, and Annie, it was while you were presenting. He actually asked about your stats slide that we had shared. Wanted to know if those metrics are from the US, North America, or worldwide. Could you expand on that?
Yep, so they're global stats across all of our locations, all of our different locations, whether it's North America or kind of our other regions, all use our career sites. So those are global stats.
Awesome. Thank you, Pedro. Hopefully that answers your question. I'm just going to kind of go in order, so I'll be jumping around a little bit. Lydia, and I saw someone else had liked this question too, asked if there was a benchmark that Lumen or Phenom use for an average time spent on career sites. I can answer that for Phenom, happy to. We have lots of stats. And I think one thing that could be really beneficial is we have so many case studies based on the industry that you're at. So if you're interested, and Lydia, I will certainly follow up with you. Let's talk more. You know, what industry are you in? What's your company size? And I'm happy to share so many different custom stats for you. If you're interested in that, just shoot me a note. Happy to follow up with you too. But Annie, I don't know if you had anything to add, if you had a benchmark for time on site that you didn't cover.
Emily, do you have anything that you're measuring against?
So not an industry benchmark. Typically, I'm just looking at our past performance prior to changes that we've made, or year over year, quarter over quarter at this point.
Got it. Okay. This question comes in from Cindy, who asked about the auto-generated messages, Annie, that you were speaking to. She wanted to know whether that was via email or text.
They're generally via email, but we do have some pockets of the organization that lean more into the text messages, but that's consistently email with pockets of text.
Great. Thank you. I think this came at the very end of your presentation as we were transitioning to Emily, but Tracy asked, is there a reason, Rachel. Rachel asked, where did you get candidate feedback? Are you looking at just talent analytics?
Yeah, so we're getting feedback from a variety of places. Talent analytics is definitely one. We have a candidate experience survey, which there was a question in here about if that's through Phenom. That is not through Phenom today. That happens later in our hiring process. We have a candidate experience survey. We also look at our candidate chatbot questions that come in. And then we also track themes of questions that come into either our internal recruiting team or our ticketing teams. And we're constantly looking across all of those to see how we can enhance or upgrade the content that we have on the career site to get ahead of some of those questions and address them and make sure that candidates have what they need.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Emily, this came in for you from Tracy. It was right as you started. It says, is there a reason why you didn't replicate the About Us content within the Phenom site so they didn't need to leave to gather that insight?
Yeah, so the way that Lumen is structured, we have a lot of different sub-businesses within our organization. So we could do a very high-level overview of Lumen, but this is one thing that I kind of personally have gone back and forth on is, should we do this? Should we not do this? There is a lot of great content out there around all of our different organizations of the business, how they all kind of work together, all the sub businesses that we have. So our quantum fiber as part of Lumen. There's just, it becomes of what do we include? What don't we include? Is it important? Are we going to have business feedback that their stuff's more important? And how much real estate do we really have to work with on that page versus allowing them to kind of dig in a little bit more to where it necessarily pertains to them?
Got it. Thank you. Again, kind of jumping around, I'm sort of trying to go in order. I know, Annie, you had answered this in the Q&A portion, but again, let's just cover it in case the attendees didn't get a chance to read that. They want to know what AI scheduling tool you're using.
Yes, we use the AI scheduling tool that's through Phenom. It's integrated in our CRM today. So it's like another tool that's just in the CRM that our teams use, but we use the Phenom tool.
Great. And again, this question came in kind of midway through your presentation, Annie, from Jules. What are some of the challenges you've done on your website after reviewing website analytics that led to improved conversion rate? If you wouldn't mind giving your answer as well.
Sure. So I can give a high level answer, and then Emily, if you want to add on anything else, because you've really led the charge on our career site. So we've really looked at what is the content that's most relevant to candidates and that we want them to see first thing. And like Emily mentioned, calling that out with our colors to catch their eye towards the content that's the most important towards them. And then also kind of having that one-stop shop kind of search page with all the information there where candidates can choose their own journey through the career site, but they also can very easily apply. So it's that balance of how do we make sure that we have enough content out there for candidates to be able to see and learn about the company and learn about what it's like to work at our company, but also we want them at the end to apply. So how do we make sure that that is really easy for them to do and have that easily accessible on those pages? So that's what we've really looked at, is how do we infuse that combination of content with applying, and then we've updated our pages kind of accordingly. And like Emily mentioned, having that consistent brand messaging everywhere that you see us talk about Lumen, whether it's our career site, whether it's a marketing campaign, whatever it may be, we're using that similar language across all of them so that as you see it it's all Lumen. You see the same things, you know what we stand for, you know the things that are important to us. Emily, is there anything else you'd add on there?
Yeah, so from an analytics perspective, I am looking at our time on page specifically when I'm thinking about content, since we're not able to kind of drive into what content are they interacting with on the page. It's more around, are they spending more time on there? And then how many of those are ultimately converting into an apply click? So that information I am looking at pretty regularly whenever we're making changes to a page. In terms of a specific problem that we've run into where we've utilized those analytics, I haven't experienced that here at Lumen, but I do have a previous example of that where we were able to hone in on desktop, that we were losing people on our desktop apply. When we looked at the desktop apply, we were able to identify that the apply button on that was a different color than it was on mobile. So adjusting that color of that apply button to a brighter color created a higher conversion because it drew their attention to do something versus being more muted. There again, we have a lot of bright button colors at Lumen. We haven't had that type of experience, but that's another way that you could utilize the analytics on the site or talent analytics to adjust from a branding perspective.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, that's a pro tip. Again, going in order, it looks like Kellen had asked about your ATS, wondering, is Lumen using Phenom's hosted apply, or are you redirecting to your ATS?
We use Phenom's hosted apply, and then candidates apply kind of as Phenom, with Phenom as the user interface, and then the data, all of that from the application flows into both the ATS application space as well as the CRM. So we use hosted apply.
Awesome. Let's see. Next question is from Yogatha, and they ask, hi, approximately how many conversations happen with the chatbot? They're planning to enable it, and they want to know how to figure out the conversations or lead generation.
Gosh, I don't know that number off the top of my head. I'd have to look at it and get back to you. I don't know that exact number.
Sure, no problem. We have your email, so don't worry. We will follow up with you with that. Let's see. I'm going to kind of go back to chat because we've gotten a few there. Carol asks, what types of jobs will be managed by the hiring managers in the self-service portal?
Yeah, so it's typically going to be the jobs where the recruiters aren't really putting together a talent attraction strategy. So they're not sourcing, they're not networking, they're not really needing to do that kind of above the funnel action. So it'll be more of those jobs. Think of jobs like internal only jobs or jobs like that is where we're going to start. We're definitely going to start small, test it out, see how it goes, pilot it through the organization. It's a very big change for some of our managers. And so we're starting small with that on those really specific populations. And we won't have recruiters in the process. We'll have more recruiting assistant support on the back end from more of an administrative processing through perspective. But it's really, and right now, we'll initially start with some of our internal only posted jobs and some of those jobs that don't really need the sourcing, networking, kind of talent attraction component.
Awesome. The next question actually builds off that, Annie, and it comes from Carol as well, which is, do you create the content for your site internally or do you outsource?
It is all in-house created. Emily, and then we have another member of our recruitment marketing team who's amazing. We have a graphic designer. Between the two of them, they create everything that you see out there. Sometimes we partner very closely with our internal communications and brand teams on various components, like creating more professional videos or things like that. We'll partner really close internally, but majority of what you see out there is Emily and our graphic designer, Liz.
Well, snaps to you, Emily. This question comes in from Brandy. Candidate surveys. After capturing the survey data, how do you create, implement, and track CTAs to truly make the changes? And who owns this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we have a marketing team, which we've talked about. Emily is amazing and is on our marketing team. Then we also have an operations team, a talent acquisition operations team. So the marketing and operations teams partner extremely closely together. And generally what we'll do is have both marketing and operations look at the data together to pull out those insights. And then we'll have an operations team member kind of run at some of those. We decide what's going to be the most impactful, what are some of the things that we could do, what makes sense, what's going to be the highest value add. And then it kind of flows over to our operations team who owns that project end to end, puts together the entire strategy, puts together how do we measure success metrics, what does that look like, and really walks through that entire project management of that idea from the feedback. So it definitely takes a very, very close partnership between both our recruitment marketing team and our talent acquisition operations team to get those things done.
Got it. Thank you. This question comes in from Katie. Where on the homepage are you going to place the job recommendation widgets?
So they are on our homepage currently. They are just down at the very bottom. So if I navigate there, well, where are they showing up here? They are in our CMS down at the very bottom of the page under our content, but it looks like on our published site, they are not there.
Something
yeah, we're going to have to look into that.
Well, at least we know where they are.
There it is. There it is. It just popped up for me. Let me see if I can just share my screen one more time here. Must have just taken a moment to load. So they're down under the Let's Stay Connected. And then we did limit the number that we had here down to the browsing based on recommendations. There is also browsing based on your search history that will show up if you have allowed cookies and all of that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, there you go, Katie. You actually got even a demonstration for your answer. Thanks, Emily. We still have a few more questions here to go through. A very active audience, which is great. This question comes in from Shelby. How do you manage multiple employer brands with having different subsidiaries?
Very carefully. So we do follow the same recommendation I had shared before around the consistent coloring. If it's quantum fiber, it's a little bit more of the purples and things like that. And so anytime we are marketing that, we are essentially putting a little tagline on it that it is a Lumen subsidiary to kind of tie that back. If they do see Lumen colors or branding mixed in with I'll say quantum fiber as an example, it still is tying that message back subconsciously that it is still a Lumen brand.
Awesome.
And what we've done from an organization level too is really set that talent philosophy employer brand at the Lumen level as well. So like Emily said, we have that to kind of back into even for those other brands. So we make sure that that is extremely consistent across. And it does get tricky sometimes, but Emily and team do a great job of kind of managing through that.
The next question here is from Pedro. I really love this question. I think it's one we can all relate to. Pedro asks, in an era of attention spans being a problem, how do you balance between showcasing all interesting content that a company can highlight on a career page to what is really necessary? He goes on to say, sometimes I feel like career pages are getting too polluted and hard to navigate with the amount of content being shown. I don't know if you both would like to share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but career pages have, there's a couple different strategies for career pages. It's really around making sure that candidates have the content that they need, but ultimately you want that apply. So that is the strategy that we try to keep in mind as we're looking at the pages is we want those candidates to convert into applicants. So we need to make sure that that is always there, easy to do, and that we have enough surrounding content to support that, but not overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
Emily, anything to add?
Yeah, I would second that, what Annie shared, but we do have a lot of times where the business will come to us and say, we want to share this. This is a great program or a great thing we want to highlight. And there's ways to kind of work around it where instead of necessarily adding it to, like I think about our university relations teams, we have 3 or 4 different rotational programs. Instead of putting that all on one page and kind of bogging the candidate down with that information, we do kind of break it out into sub pages that aren't necessarily linked on our career site, but could be shared. So let's say they're out campaigning and they want someone to know more about it, or they're having that conversation, they can share that link with them and route them to that page for more info versus bogging down our main pages and potentially losing people because it's just information overload.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think we'll be able to get to at least one more question. Again, if we did not get to it, don't you worry. We will follow up with you via email. How do you measure if your content is engaging? And if it's not, more importantly, how do you strategize changing the content to boost it to be engaging?
Yeah, so I can take this, Annie. For me, it's a 2-pronged approach. So we have our external campaigns and we have our data around engagement and click through with those. We use consistent verbiage across. So we've done A/B testing. I can use our Vets Month campaigns as an example. We went out with 5 different variations to copy to see what really resonated with that audience and to see which ad got the most clicks, what got the most views from a video perspective, all of that. And then brought that verbiage back to our career site and utilized what resonated with them on our site. And then also from a site perspective, measuring time on page, things like that, to see if those changes really did have the impact that we thought they would have.
And one thing our recruitment marketing team has done a really good job of doing recently as well is internally, we have a lot of employee resource groups that Emily kind of showed on our career site. So they hold focus groups with those ERGs and talk through some of our ideas for imagery, copy, and what we're going to go out to market with to make sure that that is authentic, it resonates, that it kind of makes sense. So they do a lot of really good kind of internal market research as well, utilizing our ERGs before getting those A/B testing pieces out there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, in closing, I really want to thank Annie and Emily for sharing all those insights. And of course, we wish you luck on the rebranding. We hope it goes smoothly. I also want to thank the audience for listening. We hope that you walked away with some inspiration on your journey of finding the right candidate for the right job. Should you be interested in learning more, we'd like to share the opportunity to download the Lumen's case study. It's located here in the platform if you go to the docs section. It also can be downloaded from phenom.com. I also want to share that I Am Phenom is the #1 Intelligent Talent Experience Conference, and it's coming soon to Philadelphia, April 23rd through the 25th, where over 1,800 HR professionals will learn, network, and grow together. The conference will feature a powerhouse of keynote sessions from leading brands. We'll have deep dive breakout tracks for talent acquisition, talent management, HRIS, and executives, and Phenom product unveilings and demos. And as a fun surprise, we're actually giving a lucky attendee of this webinar a free pass. But don't be sad if you don't win, because we did extend our special sweetheart deal just in time for Valentine's Day, which is 50% off a 2-day conference tickets. To get the savings, you can use the word love during checkout until midnight on February 14th. To register, you can go to iamphenom.com/register. And thank you again for being a part of today's webinar. Your engagement has made it extra special. And until next time, take care.